People want to know if the revolution, the popular revolutions that are taking place in the Middle East right now are going to affect Palestine and Israel, and if so, how? I think if we look back, we'll probably find that the popular nonviolent resistance in Palestine certainly preceded, if not inspired, the popular resistance in the Arab world. The Palestinians have been doing this for a long time. Israel has been responding with brutal force, not unlike the other brutal dictators who want to remain in power. But the question, of course, is, can this last? Is it realistic to expect that 5 or 5.5 million Palestinians will remain living under a brutal regime with no rights, alongside a society, another society that is completely segregated from them, a Jewish society which lives in its own democracy, a democracy that it created for itself alone, on the same land? I don't think it's realistic to expect that. I think it's far more realistic to expect that the popular resistance will prevail, that eventually the Zionist regime, just like Mubarak and just like the other tyrannical regimes within the Middle East, is going to fall, and in its place will take a pluralistic democracy, a shared state where every vote counts, where you're not discriminated because you are an Arab or a Jew or because you're a Muslim or a Christian, but a state that allows both nations to express their own identity and to express their own views and to create a future together. So certainly the events in North Africa and in other places in the Gulf are inspiring. It's inspiring to see people come out, but this is nothing new as far as the Israeli-Palestinian issue is concerned. I think, if anything, it legitimizes and will hopefully give more impetus to the nonviolent resistance in which, as many people of course know, many Israelis participate. The protests, the nonviolent protests all around the West Bank are joint Israeli-Palestinian protests. And of course, the violent, brutal response of the Israeli army is nothing new. They've been doing this for a long time. Of course, in Gaza, the violent response of the Israeli army has been as bad as anybody can expect, with civilians being killed by warplanes and hundreds of dead and wounded and so forth. So the question is, of course, does anybody expect this to continue? And I think the answer is, if you expect it to continue, then you're being foolish and naive. Eventually, the people will prevail. Eventually, equality and justice and democracy will prevail. And just like Mubarak and Gaddafi and all these others are on their way out, so I think the racist Zionist regime in Israel and Palestine is on its way out. And I think we are in for a much better future, a future where both people can determine their own future together.